So hi, I'm here with Greg Wright, and things are changing in your life, Greg. You're on a new mission, a new direction. Tell me a little bit about what you'd like to see that be. I mean, what would be your ideal situation since things are changing? I mean, this could be a brand new path for you.
Well, it absolutely is. You know, Steve, appreciate the time to just, have a conversation with you. Judy and I have, since for quite some time, that God's been leading us to something new. Mm-hmm. We have had lots of confirmation along the way over the 10 to almost 11 years now here at this church, and 20 plus years in ministry. God's been tugging on our heart and just slowly revealing to us that He wants us to to lead a church. And we're a little bit of a kind of a slow learner in that process, so it took a lot of suggestions and a lot of confirmation and circumstances to bring us to that conclusion. And as a result of it, for us, Judy and I, we know now that God's clearly confirmed that this is what He wants us to do, to lead a church. And that's a bit of a dangerous, at this stage of the game for us, a bit of a turn, unexpected turn, because in some ways because of how our circumstances have led us to this point. And yet we can see God's hand leading us to step out and do one of two things. And this is where it gets into the realm of, okay, God, we're going to hear your voice, and hope it's not a whisper. We want it to be a shout. Mm-hmm. We would love to stay local right here in Portland. Mm-hmm. We're not close to going elsewhere, but this is our heart's desire and our heart for this area and for the people of this area. Very strongly, we feel like we could do something. God could use us to do something that would change lives and affect the community and enrich the city and build God's kingdom. And all those things we could see happening here in one of two forms. One would be that we would start a church and just plant something brand new, which is a risky adventure for us. And the reason I say that is because at this point it looks as if we won't have any true backing by another church, a church body. Since this is our idea and the timing isn't right for the church that I'm in for them to support us, then we would be, if that's the case, stepping out on our own and trusting God in ways that most church planters would never do. They would usually have the backing of either an organization that does church planting and would partner with them, or they would have the partnership of a church that was their home church, or both. And in our case, it will be neither. So we've looked at and spent some time with different organizations and have met with our church board, of which I'm a part. And we have determined that this would be, if it's God's will, it would be an adventure we would take a bit out there in the blue yonder. We would step out into thin air a bit and trust God on our steps to plant a church. And we're not opposed to that, but there's a lot to risk. And so before we take those steps, we make sure that we're really certain. But we have a huge vision for what God would do, and we have what the church would be like, and how God has really given us a picture of our ministry, which would be unique in many ways to churches compared to churches that currently exist. And secondly, the second possibility would be that we would come into an existing church, and then that church would, if it's a match, would embrace us and we would embrace them, and together as a church we would begin to move in some new ways to meet some needs in Portland. Mm-hmm. Now, there are many churches in Portland, but the churches in Portland are primarily established churches that have a very traditional outlook. That's typical. And percentage-wise, this is a place where there aren't as many people attending church as there are in other parts of the country. It's widely known that Oregon and Washington are largely, by percentage in comparison, unchurched. So, in realistic actual numbers, there's well over 1 million, probably closer to 1,150,000 to 1,200,000 citizens, people who are a part of this Portland Metroplex area, including Vancouver. 1,200,000 upwards that do not attend a church, evangelical church or a Christian church at all. So there are some in other religions, which would make up another additional percentage of that 1,200,000. But as we see it, there's a huge number of people who we believe the church has a ministry for, and we would love to be a part of reaching those people. So it could be through the start of a church or partnering with an existing church. And for both of those options, we spend a lot of time in prayer, spend a lot of time in looking at what God would do. And so we have a vision. We have definitely soiled our knees and worn our knees and our pants just in prayer, just praying over these situations, and we're trusting God. In addition to that, unfortunately, because so little has happened in the 3 months that we've been, examining all these possibilities, despite the fact that we do have a vision here, we realize that that God may take that vision and plant it someplace else, in another part of the country along the western seaboard. So we have expanded our church search to Washington and California. We'll see what God does. But as it is, we would love to see God do what we're doing here. And I'd be happy to share some of the unique ideas I have about how the church would be different and would reach into the community. But anyway.
Well, that was my question. I mean, there's approximately 1.2 million people here that have a need, and how do we show them what's unique and different? Why would they want to attend?
Yeah, this church. Partly, the word attend is partly what would be different about our church. I believe that there's some unique and distinct differences that I see in churches in America in the future. Mm-hmm. I believe and it's beginning to be widely accepted, that the church in America must change, must shift. We have, with only one denominational exception, one denomination has shown some small attendance growth in America. And all other major Christian denominations or evangelical Protestant denominations in America have shown a decline in attendance over the last 7 to 8 years. And that's a decline that I think is indicative of the heart and the mind of this new generation. Not because they are